Hey everybody, welcome. Give everybody just a second or two to get to the space this morning, or this afternoon rather. Oops. Oops. That's the wrong one. Oops. You probably don't want to hear our recorded lecture in our Zoom meeting today. So let me see if I can find the right one. Hopefully. How's everybody doing? Doing good? Yeah? Is this all gonna be up? It is.
So I just have a question.
Sure.
Because twice now you haven't been able to open my files. I'm not sure. Is it because it needs to be like a PDF? Because I have a Mac, and the problem is my Mac. I had Microsoft Word, but then it switched over and does Pages now apparently.
And I can't access anything called Pages.
Right,
I
but then
can access Docs.
because I have the Microsoft Word also that one of the teachers gave it to us for free. Free?
Yeah, it's free for you.
Yeah. So for some reason now I don't know. The whole thing's just a mess. So I'm trying to figure out how to figure it out because it's happened a couple times. So I guess if I do it as you said a PDF.
Yeah, I can open PDFs. I can open Docs, but I can't open, like, it's like an HEIC or something. I've never seen that before, so I don't know what that file, honestly, I don't know what that file is.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's called Pages. So I'm guessing that's what it saves it as.
Yeah, no, I can't, unfortunately, I can't open Pages.
Right. Okay.
But if you still have trouble, maybe we can think of something else that you can use. I don't know for sure. But if you still have trouble, like if you can't get it to change the format, I'll see what I can do. I can probably reach out to IT for help if you need it.
Okay, let me just see if I can switch it over to the PDF.
Okay, I think this one's the right one. Now I'm just going to check in with everybody. It doesn't look like everybody's here, but those of you who are here, I really want to talk with you about your persuasive speech topics. And I'm curious if you all could we'll just go down a list of people that are here right now, and I'm just going to ask you what your topic is. So I'll stop sharing for just a few minutes here, and I don't have the sheet in front of me, so you're just going to talk us through it a little bit. So Jamie, what's your persuasive speech topic?
Mine is going to be, should it be mandatory for immigrants to learn English?
And you were having some trouble making the decision if you wanted to say that it should be mandatory or not. Is it because you've come across some trouble in the research, or what made you change your mind?
I don't know. I guess it was just, I didn't want to be like too like controversial, but I decided to change my mind, and I'm just gonna keep the mandatory part, and yeah.
Kind of work with that. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay.
So
Haley, what's your topic?
I'm doing seagrass loss in Florida coastal waters. I'm not exactly sure what my end persuasion is going to be, if it's going to be just like awareness altogether, or awareness to persuade our leaders to change laws, basically protecting seagrasses.
Seagrasses.
So kind of like trying to figure out which way to go with it.
Okay. Now, have you been able to look at any of the research up to this point? Or you're still just trying to think through okay, and you're finding some good stuff out there?
Yeah, I've been looking up a lot of stuff to try to compile research to trying to figure out how to organize it and which way to go, because there's not like really much information on like how to protect it other than like changing legislation.
Gotcha. And that can be a goal you have is, you know, we really need to make this happen. And then what can we as voters do to help that to become a law? So I think you have a really good idea of how to approach this considering the research you're finding. We can look and see if there's an organization working to support that. So if you can get us to sign a petition, you know what I mean? But it sounds like it's going to be an active vote of voters. And just out of curiosity, how many of you are registered voters? Okay, cool. So there's a lot of people here that can be a part of that change. So you've definitely got a good audience for it. Chelsea,
I can't vote yet, but I forced my brother to register and he votes for me.
wow. I don't know if it's legal, but I think it's really awesome that you did get your brother to vote. And, you know, just thinking about that, we have a really important opportunity here, right? This is the election year. So it's kind of a cool time for it. I love, Emma, that you're that dedicated though. That's pretty awesome. Allie, what's your topic?
Body positivity, on how you should love yourself, but condoning like underweight or overweight bodies is just unsafe and unhealthy for someone.
So helping people have a realistic perspective of what a healthy body is so they can feel good about themselves.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then do you have maybe geared towards healthy living kind of perspective? Is that what you're going to offer, or are you going to talk about the problems society has?
Probably like a little bit of both, because it kind of like combines in together.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Shayla, what's your topic going to be for the persuasive speech?
Mine's birth control, but I don't know if I should just stick to one birth control method or just include them all.
So do you want to get people to use it? Is that what you're thinking? You want to go get people to go away from it. Don't use birth control.
Yeah.
Which one?
Away.
No birth control. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit more about what your thought process is with this one.
I was going to say like the cons of birth control, but I don't know if I should just include all of them all together or just stick to like the pill, for example.
So are you talking about the way the hormones affect the body? Is that what you mean? Okay. So the medical, I guess the medical impact on the body, biologically. Okay, that's interesting. I've never had anybody do that topic before. I find that very interesting.
Would I also be able to do like, because not too long ago I saw a post on social media where it said like what the implant did to her. Like, would I be able to use that?
It's your speech. Absolutely. If you have time and you want to incorporate some of the negative impacts. Now, are you against people using like contraceptives like condoms?
No, just birth control.
Okay, so you're talking about like hormone-based birth controls.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that's important to let people know that there are some issues related to that for sure.
Okay.
And then you can, of course, decide how you'll approach that once you look at how much time it takes. I think you'll probably have time there to talk about both.
Okay.
Emma, tell us about your topic.
I'm going to talk about abolishing the Electoral College.
Tell us a little bit more.
So the Electoral College is obviously a system that a lot of people actually don't know about. A lot of the people I've talked to don't know about it. It's the system which actually elects the president. It was created by the Founding Fathers because it was a good thing originally, because a lot of the voters were illiterate. They couldn't read. They weren't very educated because it was hard. You know, they were just establishing schools and, you know, the public education system. But now it's bad because the electors are, they're elected very biasly, and they end up being a mayor's cousin, a big oil company CEO. They vote for not who the popular vote is. And they just put a law in for the Supreme Court that the electors can be punished if they don't vote for the popular vote, but they still do. There's a lot of problems with it. More times than not, the electors have actually voted for people who aren't actually on the ballot.
Wow. Okay. I don't know much about this topic. I think it's really important, obviously, especially with, voter season coming up. It seems like it would be a really timely topic. And I think you've got a really good, it looks to me like an understanding going into it of what you're trying to achieve. So you're off to a great start. Now, do you all have a lot of knowledge about this topic? Out of curiosity, how many of you know a whole lot about this topic? How many of you agree with her already? How many need more information to make that decision? How many of you don't agree? Anybody not agree? Like I like the Electoral College. Interesting. All right, you're off to a really great start. You got some agreement already here. Bradley, what's your topic?
Why video games are good for you.
Oh, the old video games are good argument. I've heard this one before, but yours is probably different than the one I've heard. So what made you decide to do this topic?
I couldn't pick another topic.
I want a little bit more passion in it than that. Certainly you have to have something else to share. What made you decide that this is a good topic for Bradley to talk about?
Because I have experience with playing games.
That works. Yeah, you're a gamer, right?
Yeah.
Are you like a big avid gamer, or you just like to play games occasionally and you know that there's some benefits, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'll play like games with my friends or something, and then I was reading about it and how it's like it's not just good for like having fun, you know, it's good for stuff like when you like you're I'm trying to think of how to say it. Like there was one study, it was about driving and how games help you drive. Something like that.
Okay, so you think as a teaching tool, as an education resource, okay. All right, and then anybody think that there's some cons to gaming? Just out of curiosity. You know, I'm not gonna ask you what they are, but how many of you think there's some cons to video gaming? Okay, how many of you think there's more benefits than risks? More benefits than risk. I'm thinking Bradley would think that too, right? More benefits than risk. All right, anybody like just believe that you should just eliminate gaming from your life? Or if you have small children, eliminate gaming from their life altogether? Okay. Okay.
That's what my dad did. We weren't allowed to have video games until my brother bought a PS4.
How old was your brother?
21.
Okay. And do you think that was the right choice on your dad's part?
When we were younger, like really young, yeah, because it helped us focus more in school, but also like we didn't have anything to do besides school or homework.
Okay, that makes sense. Especially if I'm thinking that during quarantine, and that's all my son's doing right now is gaming or watching YouTube. He loves YouTube. It's terrible, but he's a chronic user of these mediums. All right, Bradley, I'm thinking, I know that there's some studies out there that say there's a relationship between violence and video games. Do you disagree with that?
There's probably relations to it, but I just think there's more positives towards it.
Okay, all right. Almost too safe of a topic, in my opinion. You don't seem to have a real adamant decision on which way you're going with it. So you're going to have to look at some of the counter arguments, I think, to really build something persuasive. So thinking about that, what can I really challenge my audience to do? It sounds like you have some audience who are opposed to your position, so you have something to work with. So I would consider that for sure in how I put this together. All right, Miles, what's your topic for the persuasive speech?
I'm going to be talking about the health benefits to eating a vegan diet.
All right. Now I'm seeing all kinds of stuff about plant-based diets. Is that the same thing as veganism, plant-based?
Yeah. It's just another way of saying it, basically, yeah.
Okay. And so what makes you choose this topic of all the topics you could talk about?
Well, I went vegan about 6 months ago now, out of the blue. I had been thinking about it for a little while. But I just took the dive and went cold turkey and went fully plant-based, and the mental health benefits I've seen from it, as well as the physical benefits from it, far outweigh any other diet that you could have, in my opinion.
Cool. Okay. So anybody else already vegan or considering a vegan diet or a plant-based diet? Anybody like, you can't take the meat out of my cold dead hands? Anybody like, that's just, yeah, okay, all right, this is giving you something to work with, right? So you have some people who are going to definitely oppose this argument. Now, I am a pescatarian, so I eat fish, and I'm octo-vegetarian, so I eat eggs and dairy. I've been doing that for a really long time, like 10 or more years. but I think it still would be really hard to go vegan. I've tried it a few times.
It is hard. It is definitely difficult, but in my opinion, it's worth it. So we'll see.
It's worth it. I can't wait to hear that. I can't wait to hear that argument.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to hear from, let's see, who have we not heard? Chelsea. Chelsea, remind us of your topic again.
Texting while driving.
All right. Now,
Horrible.
it's horrible. Now you had another topic in mind, but you had decided to go with this one.
Yep.
Tell me what you're thinking about this. Tell me a little bit more about your thought process.
Just how like easy it is if you just look at your phone or do an email or anything, like how quickly it takes just to like swerve just a little bit. And God forbid, there's people bike here everywhere. Of course, we have this nice bike trail. I mean, no offense to anyone who is a biker here, but we have this awesome bike trail, but they're always on the main roads. And it's like, what the heck? Like, it's so dangerous because some of these roads are so narrow. So it's like, go on. So anyway, the fact is, if someone's texting and these bikers are on these narrow roads and you're not looking, you could easily hit them. Like one time, me and my son, I do a lot of like jogging and stuff with him in this jogging stroller. And one time we were going and she was coming right at me. I had to dodge into someone's yard and she was going super slow, luckily. But then all of a sudden they just look up and panic, you know? So it's just annoying. Because even if you sneeze while driving, it's scary, you know?
Okay, now I'm just curious, like kind of looking over this audience, how many of you agree that texting and driving is dangerous? You agree? Okay, all right. How many of you have a cell phone? You have a cell phone? You own one? Okay.
Yeah.
How many of you drive? You drive? You can drive. Okay. All right. Or you've ridden with someone who drives, right? Or either one. All right. Now, that being said, how many of you are guilty, tell the truth, or at least willing to admit some fault?
I mean, I'm myself guilty.
Okay. All right. So some fault. Like I know I am. I know that my son will be in the car and he'll bring up something and I'll be like, I'm not sure about that. Let me look that up. I'm like, I can't believe I'm teaching my 10-year-old texting. I mean, I'm Googling while driving. It's just as bad, you know? So yeah, I think we're all guilty of this. Honestly, I think that some of us don't realize how guilty we are. And I think you've got a really good topic to teach us, you know, something that we should know a little bit more about, and maybe even help us to see our own behaviors and how we can change them. So you definitely got a good topic. I think it's interesting that you've chosen it from the point of view that that you're looking at bicyclists here in Claremont and looking at our own communities and how dangerous that is. But I think
Even anyone, I mean, that's just an example because you always see them going on the road, you know, and constantly, I mean, my husband's a cop, so he constantly gets calls about a bicyclist getting hit, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And even just people who, like myself, walking, and it's even, we walk in the neighborhood, so it's like not even so much super trafficy, you know, and it's just like crazy. But, and the other thing is too, like, of course, Android or iPhone users, you know, they're so easy now to just be on the phone, you know, they make it easier, I feel like. So it's,
I mean, you can use it for music in your car. You can use it for
everything.
just, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too, that it's just too easy and we're using it too readily and almost for everything that we do. So I think you've got a really good point.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know like this generation, like, you know, people in their 20s,
I don't know. I'm in my 40s and it's just as bad for me. So I don't have any
I did a little research already and it says 20s are like the most common.
I'm probably not as bad as some people, but I do know I need to quit. I need to lock my phone in my trunk.
It's just so hard because you think of like, I think of when I was, you know, in high school 13 years ago. And when you're in the car with your friends and how, not that you want to like show off in front of them, but you don't want to be like a loser kind of, you know, so you just, bad influences and you should just stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm not doing that.
I think you got a great point. And we're going to watch a speech today that actually deals a little bit about that. So it's interesting that you brought that up.
Right.
But definitely. So definitely food for thought. And you've got a good audience to work with. Everybody can admit to some guilt, at least in part. So they have definitely something personal at stake here.
Right. I think everyone will agree that it's bad, but I think it's a matter of, are you going to stop or not? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Rose, what's your topic? Remind us your topic. Rose, are you on? Did I catch you offline? All right, Angela, what's your topic?
It was going to be about required classes and why we shouldn't have that.
Okay, you say it's gonna be. You're not gonna do that anymore?
I was thinking about the speed limit one, but then I found more like research on the required courses, so I'm just going to stick with that.
I think it's great. I mean, this is a required course. Are you talking
Yeah.
about in high school, or can it be college, or are we talking in general?
I was going to do college, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Anybody agree already? Believe? Are you against it? Or are you for it? Which way are you going with this before I say agree?
Against it.
That's what I thought you were thinking.
Yeah.
Who's against the required courses? Against it. All right. Who's for it? Like, there should be some required courses. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right, Kellyanne, what's your topic?
My topic is school uniform.
Uniforms in schools. Are you for it?
For
Okay.
school uniforms, yeah.
All right. And tell me a little bit about your reasoning.
I worked in schools as a substitute, and I also was a bookkeeper. Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm in class. Sorry, my niece is talking.
That's okay.
I worked as a substitute and a bookkeeper, and I saw kids being teased all the time for not having the best clothing. So in schools where I worked, where they did have uniforms, the kids seemed to get along a lot better. Well, as good as you can for children, but definitely they weren't picking on each other. There wasn't really that clique mentality because they didn't have to worry who had the best clothes, who had the best shoes on. It was just everybody wore the same clothes.
And it helped.
So
It equals the playing field. How many of you agree? School uniforms definitely should be mandatory. How many of you disagree? How many of you think I need more information to make a decision? I can be convinced, but I need more information. All right. Sounds like you've got a really good audience. Definitely some people interested in this topic. You guys got some great topics here. I'd love to hear Rose's, but I don't know if Rose is on right now. So, but you've got some great topics. And what I want to go through with you today is a few of the patterns of arrangements that you can work with. In order to determine that, though, it's really up to your topic. It's up to your course of strategy, right? This is about strategy. Remember, what is ethos? Anybody remember what is ethos? Remember, we got 3 means of persuasion. Ethos is one. What is ethos, Emma?
Ethos is the appeal to your credibility.
Yeah. Are you trustworthy? Are you confident? Are you prepared? Do you speak with authority? Does the audience trust that you know what you're talking about and that you're being honest with them? Your appeal to your credibility is a big part. Wouldn't you say? Emma, what do you think about that?
I think it's a huge part because if you don't know what you're talking about and you're giving false information, you can't properly persuade somebody, especially in the digital age when they can look up the facts and statistics for themselves, either during or afterwards. If you don't have the credibility, you don't have an argument. I
am there with you, my friend. I would say that that's the most important of the 3 means of persuasion, if you ask me. All right, so what's pathos? What's pathos? So we got ethos, we've got pathos. What's pathos? What's pathos, Angela?
That's like using your audience's emotion against them or to make them.
You broke up for a second. So you could say against them.
Believe you. Yeah.
Okay. You could say against them, right? And in some ways, we got to think about it this way, that it is strategy, right? It is intentional as we are trying to persuade the audience. We're trying to convince them to choose our course of action. So it could be against them where we bring their emotional appeals to the surface, whether it's anger or fear. Those are 2 emotions that the audience might feel, right? As they listen to your message, they may be angry that this is going on. It's still happening. It's continuing to be an issue. When I think about, for instance, seagrass, think about protecting seagrass and the impact it has on our environment. I'm curious, how many of you believe that environmental issues are a major concern right now? That we should be concerned with the environment? It's really common for this age range, your age range in particular, to see the environment, we'll say climate change and issues that factor into that, pollution, landfill waste, talking about conservation, to see that as an issue. Why do you think people in the college age range are concerned with environmental issues? I'll say maybe more so than maybe older voters. We'll say those in their baby boomers, for instance, in their 50s or 60s. Why do you think the younger generations are most concerned about environmental issues?
I think we have more information now than older generations.
Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that, Haley. What do you mean we have more information? Why is that different?
So I think that like we've focused on it more and tried to look into the environment and our impact on the environment after like the industrialization of the world, basically. You know, we kind of just like the Industrial Revolution, we just like went for it, like, and it was just like a boom. It was like the baby boom, but for like machines and pollution. And then like we'd all just like kept working through it, and like that was just everyone's way of life. And no one really thought about the effects because that's the way that they were making money through like all their hard times, like depression and all this stuff. And then we started focusing more on it, seeing that maybe we are like hurting the environment, and scientists started collecting data and whatnot. And now we have a big collection of it that they didn't have previously.
So maybe not as concerned with the traditional approaches, maybe looking for better ways, more innovative ways. Younger generations tend to say, well, innovation is an opportunity. We can be creative in that, but also taking what you know from the past and putting it to good use today. I see where you're coming from there. It can strike anger in people. If you see that, you know, we know this is happening, we see the truth, we see the facts, and nobody wants to do anything about it. That can make you angry. That can make you angry. Frustrated can be a part of anger. When you think about emotions, frustration's a part of that. If you see it constantly occurring, but nobody's doing anything, that can frustrate your audience. Anything else? Is there anything else that maybe might appeal to younger voters about the issue of climate change? Emma, what are your thoughts?
Well, because I'm younger, I'm only 16, but I've grown up knowing about climate change and knowing the threat, and I've grown up knowing, hey, I'm going to have to be the one that has to deal with this. I'm going to have to live through the negative effects.
So threat, there's a threat there. There's fear. See, so we hear the thoughts of anger, frustration, fear. Those are emotions. Those are real appeals to the audience's emotions. So it's not an uncommon thing to hear that younger people are like frustrated, they're frightened, or they're angry. What do you say?
I'm going to have to live through these effects. If I have children, they're going to have to live through these effects because there's almost no way that we're going to fix it. We could desperately try, but if there's not effective change right now, there's almost no way we're going to fix it. So I'm going to have to live through it. My friends are going to have to live through it. My children might have to live through it. It's that, you know, I've always grown up with the threat. My world is going to crumble at some point.
All right.
And
So that's your appeal to pathos. So we can see that that's very real for you. That's a really significant and real experience for Emma, and maybe for some of you too. Maybe some of you feel that way. Not everyone's going to feel the same way about these issues, and some of you might say it's really not that much of a threat, depending on how you're seeing the world that you're in. But I do think when we think about a pathos appeal to emotions tend to hit us there, where it's, you know, a fear, an anger, a frustration. What else can pathos appeal to? Any thoughts? Are there other emotions that you might? So if we're not just trying to get to the heart or of the maybe the audience in a way that would maybe frighten them or frustrate them, what else can we do? How else can we appeal to them emotionally? And Angela had a good point there. On the adverse side, right? If we're not just appealing to, you know, their sense of change, what about their sense of compassion or commitment? We also think if we can get them to feel motivated by a sense of hope for others. I'm trying to look at your topics. I'm thinking maybe body positivity could do this, like a sense of hope, a sense of having maybe some personal goals. So the sense of longevity. We think we all want to be our best version of ourselves. So maybe helping people to become that. So there's something really hopeful in that. Or if I was talking about homelessness, for instance, maybe you all don't necessarily want to fight the cause of homelessness. I don't think anybody here would say, oh, homelessness is great, we should just let it be. Nobody feels like homelessness is good. And if I was trying to compel you to be a part of that change, it's not hard for you to say, well, I disagree that homelessness, is good. It's not good. I want to do something about it. But then how can I get you to commit? How can I get you to be a part of it? How can I get you to want to put your dollar into that man's hat as you walk by? Or how can I get you to want to support that organization that's working to change the issues of homelessness? And that's what we're talking about. So it's compassion, right? We're compelling the audience through compassion. So we want to think about all of the aspects of emotion and how do we sway our audience using pathos. Obviously, we want to be credible. Going back to what Emma said, you don't want to deceive your audience. And we're not trying to manipulate them, right? It's not propaganda. We want them to have a choice. We want them to be able to say, based on the information that's been presented to me, I would really like to do this. But if the audience doesn't feel connected with their heart, they're not going to be connected with their heads, right? They're just not going to connect. And so that brings me to the last mean of the three means. Aristotle would say the last one is logos. And what is logos? What is logos? Maybe someone who hasn't spoken.
Like the facts and statistics and stuff.
Yes, facts and statistics, come back to it. That's also going to be a part of ethos. Don't forget how important it is to present that research well. But you're right, facts and statistics play a part. But what is logos? Does anybody know what the root word is? Like, could you see how that plays out today? Jamie, I think you raised your hand. Do you know maybe?
No, I was raising my hand for the, what, because logos, I was going to say it was also about facts and, logic.
Logic, that's the word I wanted you to say. Yeah, logic. Today's word is logic. It's logical. It makes sense to the audience. It's saying that the argument adds up. So if I said, the sky is blue, and you look out your window and you see that where you are, the sky is not blue, it's gray. That's not going to add up for you, right? So that's why the facts and statistics are so important. You have to see that it adds up, but you also have to see that the argument makes sense. So it's built on a logical basis. It makes sense to the audience because you're able to deduce based on what they're presenting that it is indeed the truth, that it is indeed fact. So when we think about logos, we're also thinking about how the material is presented and the order in which the speaker brings up those ideas. When you all were building your debates, if you were presenting us reasonings, that reasoning that didn't make sense, or we'll call it fallacious arguments or fallacies, we would be like, you can't say that. For instance, I can't say Sprite is the best drink in the world because Drake drinks it, right? I can't say that. You're like, well, Drake can drink it all he wants, but it doesn't mean that it's the best drink there is, right? Because just because you have an appealed authority doesn't mean that it makes it right. You can't say, well, this is the best governmental choice because everybody's doing it, right? That just because everybody's on the bandwagon doesn't mean it's the right way to do things, right? So we realize that there's fallacies in logic and that arguments don't always add up. And so we're going to talk a little bit today, and I know I took us a long way around, but I want you to think about this when you put your material together. We're going to talk about patterns of arrangement that can help you prepare your message in a way that is meaningful to the audience, does have pathos built into it, does allow you to be credible and prepared, so your ethos is there, and it already lends itself to a logical and a well-developed argument. So I want to talk with you about how you can do that. Rose, it's nice to have you back. Rose, can you tell me what your topic for your persuasive speech is?
Yes, it was social media.
Social media, and you are for it, the benefits of social media, right?
Yes.
Okay, the positive impact, even though we see a lot of negatives, but you're going to really focus on why it's a really great resource for us, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right, perfect. Now I want to share with you all a quick lecture, and I'm not going to go long because I don't really think that this is the best medium for that. If I was in a class, I might go through this entire slideshow with you slide by slide. But because we're not face-to-face, I'm just going to try to be brief. But that doesn't mean you can't interject your ideas, questions you have, concerns or issues or anything along the way. And as you know, I do have a recorded version of this that I can share with you. It's a lot more tedious to hear the recording, so I thought it's better if I do it live. But if you do need to go back, you can. Or if you have any questions, please let me know. But I just want to remind you that persuasive speech is 5 to 7 minutes. You must have 4 verbal citations. You'll need to turn in a typed outline and a works cited page when the day you present. So if you're presenting the first day, make sure you turn it in before class on the first day. If you're presenting on the second day, you can turn it in then. You know what I mean? Just want to make sure that I have it the day that you're presenting so I can open it as you're speaking and see your notes and see your research. If you forget to turn it in, chances are it's going to be really hard for me to grade you fairly because I won't have that information in front of me. Plus, there should be preparation invested in this, and having that outline and works cited page ahead of time helps with that. You'll need to turn in a presentation aid. Now, I know a lot of you are asking me, should I turn in, does it need to be a Prezi or a PowerPoint? And yes, I would really like it to be a Prezi or a PowerPoint because we have this wonderful resource for the software. You can upload your own slides and go through them here as you speak. So there's no reason for you not to use these tools. There is some good news here too. I don't have a lot of requirements for what should be on your slides. So if you just wanted to use charts, graphs, statistics, if you had a definition that you needed to go through with us, that would be enough for me. You don't have to have a lot of content like I do here. Really, we don't see a lot of content in slides now. I'm not sure whose mic is on, but if you can mute your mics for me, please, because I'm getting some background noise and I think others are too. But one thing we realize about slides these days is that we don't need a lot of content, but you do want to make the slides meaningful. So whatever you're using it for, you're going to use it to back up your argument, whether it's an image that you're going to talk through or a thoughtful look at maybe an acronym and how it applies. Or maybe you're telling us about an organization and you want to have a little bit more about the organization on the slide. All of those things can be really powerful to a message. We think about visual aids, less is more. You don't want a whole lot of content on those slides. You want to stick to what I like to think of as bumper sticker ideas, or images that can really evoke emotion, for instance, or help us to understand a concept or an idea. If we don't know any term, it's always nice that you define it for us, and having a visual representation of that can help as well. Of course, statistics are really hard for us to take in all at once. So when those numbers are both on the slide and spoken to us, it really helps the audience to understand how significant they are. So just thinking about using your aids, using them well, and using them to create clarity, make it more clear for your audience to understand, to help the audience to remember the information so that they can recall it easily, so helping with retention, and then helping with interest, and thinking about how you can use your slides to do that. So I don't have requirements for how many slides. It's really up to you how many you need. You can use media, but you must have at least 5 minutes of spoken speech in order to use media. So that way you have at least 7 minutes of content if you use 2 minutes of media. Keep in mind that I don't want you to replace your speech with the 5 minutes of speech, okay? Or with the media, rather. I don't want you to replace your speech content with media. Do you have any questions about these requirements? I just want to make sure that that's clear for you moving forward. All right, now I do require that you choose one of the patterns of arrangement that I'm going to go over with you today. You can choose a refutation or a comparative advantage. How you do for your debates, shh, Max. Hang on, please, I'm sorry. So sorry, very sorry. But how you did for your debates, that's refutation or comparative advantage. You can use those interchangeably, and I'm going to show you how today. So if you're thinking, I have a debate type topic, then you might really like one of these patterns. If you're going to use the textbook to help understand this a little bit more, you'll see refutation. It's refuting or disputing your opponent's position or the opposition. You'll see comparative advantage. It's called the direct method in the textbook, where you're actually going to present the advantages. Now, I'm thinking a lot of you have topics that might lend itself naturally to a more debate style or more direct method of reasoning. I'm thinking for sure Rose, Bradley, where you have clear advantages of your position or where you stand. It might be easier to present that kind of reasoning. Some of you, though, have a clear problem solution structure. And so when we think about problem solution, we could be thinking problem cause effect solution, problem cause solution, or maybe you have a motivated sequence, which is simply a problem solution structure with a little pizzazz. So one of those arrangements might work really well. I'm thinking Haley definitely has maybe one of those types of arrangements. Allie probably does, Shayla does, Emma does. Jamie, you might as well, but you also might like the reputation or comparative advantage. Miles, you might have a really great motivated sequence. When you have an idea that you want to inspire others, motivated sequence works really, really well. Kelly Ann, I'm thinking you might really like a problem solution too, since you built it already as there's a real problem out there. And then thinking, Angela, you probably do as well. Chelsea, you definitely do. So you could be thinking about any of these patterns, but I really want you to choose the one that you feel best is suited for your topic. Now, you don't get to choose a simple problem solution where there's, because that's only a two-part body. All of your speeches must be at least 3 main points. Problem solution would be the problem's the first main point, the solution's the last main point. But I want you to see this built simply. I want to start here because I think it'll really help put this in perspective for you. Okay, I'm going to change some of the wording here because I want it to apply to our local community a little bit more. So because homelessness is a problem in Claremont, we should support organizations that fight homelessness like New Beginnings right here in Claremont, right here in the South Lake area. So thinking about that, my first main point would be like, what does the problem of homelessness look like in Claremont? How could I talk about the problems of homelessness? How many of you believe that homelessness is a real problem in Claremont? Anybody believe that? You've seen it? Maybe you know people who struggle to find affordable housing. Maybe you've seen it in other areas like Mineola or Leesburg. How many of you think that you would need information to better understand this problem? What are some ways that you could help illustrate that it's a real problem? Let's say in Lake County in general. What kind of information would you need to tell your audience so they understand the problem?
You could probably show the statistics of people who are homeless and how badly it affects them.
Yeah, tell me what statistics might look like. Are we talking like certain demographics, or what do you think statistics? How should I break down those statistics?
Probably what % of the population, how long that they're homeless for, when they became homeless, those kinds of things.
I think that would be a great look at it.
The solid amount of people, like these many people are homeless in your area and you can help them, but you're not.
But you're not, exactly. That puts a little heart into it, doesn't it? You could help them, but you're not. So you could be, right? Absolutely. So when we can see that people, real live people are impacted by an issue, we might feel a little bit more compassionate towards them. And so thinking about that, looking at the problem and trying to develop what those people look like, what their demographic factors are, who they are, how long it's been happening, or maybe even taking it a step further and we can go and we can look at causes. But what I want you guys to see here is that when you examine the problem, you want to help the audience to see that it is indeed very real, and this is who it's impacting. Now, looking at solutions, if I was going to simplify this and just use New Beginnings, which is helping Lake County residents to get access to affordable housing, it's helping rehabilitate those who are homeless, even those who are like homeless because of drug addiction, it's helping get them on their feet. If I told you all about New Beginnings and all of the good work it's doing, you might say, you know what, that's a great organization worth supporting. And so that may be all you need in order to feel compelled to do something about this. However, I want you guys to take this a step further, okay? I want you to go beyond the simple problem solution structure. I want you to consider the problem, cause, and solution, or the problem, cause, and effect solution if you do choose to approach what that problem looks like for your your topic. So looking at a problem, cause, effect, solution, you might break it down, and you can see that I've got it broken down here for you to see it in the terms of 4 main points. Now, when you were working with Mr. Conley to build outlines, I noticed that you were clear about what main points were. You were clear about how to preview those main points. And so I wanted you to see this broken down in terms of if I was going to talk about a problem, cause, effect, solution, I might break it down like this. And I'm thinking a great topic, Chelsea's topic, texting and driving, right? We can see a cause and effect relationship. We can see that if we continue to do these things, that this is what would be the consequences of those actions. We see that we play a part in those actions, right? I also think that Haley's topic would be a really good topic to look at a cause and effect relationship. If we continue to do these actions, we continue to see these consequences. When we're talking about things that human beings are responsible for, looking at the cause effect relationship tends to really move us to change. I'm thinking, Miles, you might even have a really good cause-effect relationship if you wanted to focus on the issue of, like, say, obesity and health benefits of veganism, but I'm not really sure. So it would be up to you to decide. But what I want you guys to see is if you choose to do a problem, cause, effect, solution, you've got a 4-part body here. The first one's going to be looking at what that problem is, and then you're going to present the causes or specific reasons for the problem. You'll look at the effects of that problem before you talk about specific solutions. And that may work for a lot of your topics. It works for a lot of essays. In fact, we see a lot of TED speakers build their presentations on this pattern of arrangement. You don't always have to have the effects. If you just wanted to do a 3-part body where you have the problem, cause, and solution, you could. Any questions for me so far? I don't want to bore you. I know it's pretty black and white. I hope you're brainstorming your topics. All right, I'm going to look at the next one, which is my absolute favorite. This one, motivated sequence, is a problem solution structure. So if you're like, I have a simple problem solution, that's all I'm going to do here. You will love motivated sequence. It is inspiring. It really works to build some pathos right there into the message. It's already in the building blocks. Now, what I want you to notice is that it looks like a 5-part body, but really it's not, because every speech has got to have an introduction and a conclusion. No matter which topic you choose, you'll have an introduction and a conclusion. But with motivated sequence, it's all kind of knit together. The introduction aims to build into the body of the speech. The conclusion is one of the most fundamental parts. So when you look at this as a 5-part body, just think it's a 3-part body, just like you've already seen with the introduction and conclusion, just labeled. Okay, I don't want you guys to think it's changed a whole lot. But that guy there in the corner, Alan Monroe, he put this together in the 1930s. He was hired by Purdue University to teach engineering students how to public speak. And when we think engineering, they're building things, right? They're inventing things. They're selling their ideas. He wants to help to get them jobs. And one thing that we know also about engineering students is they tend to be pretty analytical. They're not always looking at the emotional aspects of things. They're looking at the logical aspects, right? They tend to approach things from a place that says, well, I can see how it works and I see how it functions and it makes a lot of sense to me, right? But maybe they don't put enough heart into it. So Monroe wanted to find a way to build a pattern of arrangement for persuasive reasoning that builds that pathos right into it. And so you'll see here when I go through each of these pieces of the motivated sequence that there's some pathos in there. There's some emotional appeal. The first step is the attention step. This is where you're going to capture the attention of your audience. You're going to show them that there is a need or a problem that needs to be solved. Now, I want you guys to think of this as being the same type of attention-getting techniques you've been building all along. For a motivated sequence, they've got to be really dramatic. You want to really capture your audience's attention. You want to intrigue them to want to listen or to be inspired. They have to see that the problem is very real. So looking at the relationship here between that emotional connection and the logical appeal is valuable. So perhaps you have facts or statistics, or perhaps you have a powerful story that you want to show that helps them to feel connected or a part of your message. Just like you would do in any of the other developments, you really want to capture their attention well. Now, you still want to establish your credibility and you still want to create common ground, but you have to really work to capture their attention using an attention-getting technique. The next step in motivated sequence is the need step. This is the problem step. So this is not necessarily necessary to follow each one of these bullet points here, but it does help put this in perspective for you. You want the audience to see that there really is indeed a problem. So We're going to call the problem the need because it's a problem that they feel is truly a problem. So they have a need. Does that make sense? They have a need. They have a need. So I'm thinking, Miles, they have a need, right? For your topic of veganism. Chelsea, they have a need for your topic of texting and driving because that problem impacts them personally. I think all of your topics could work here if you could see how the problem impacts them personally. You can offer examples of what that problem looks like. You can explain how it affects us personally. You can point them in the right direction to solve it. That's the goal here, is that you're presenting the need in a way that they feel requires a solution. And that's the satisfaction that they're going to receive from solving the problem. So that need and satisfaction goes hand in hand to create what we call cognitive dissonance. If you've ever heard of the theory of cognitive dissonance, it's that uneasiness we feel when we know we're doing something wrong, that we shouldn't be doing this, it's harmful to us or it's harmful to others. For instance, if you smoke cigarettes, right? You know, if I tell you that you should quit smoking now because it greatly reduces complications to your health later, right? You would feel uneasy or disharmony if I was to explain to you how significant that problem is, how those long-term impacts could be devastating for you 10 years down the road. So I could offer you a solution, and the solution is going to satisfy that uneasiness that you're feeling. If I said, but it's okay because I have great tools to help you quit. And if you quit today, if you quit smoking now, you will literally prolong your life. You will literally add many, many years to your life if you quit smoking today. And your lungs will start to heal almost the day you quit smoking. So you see that dissonance, right? That uneasiness that you felt, you start to feel some balance again. You start to feel some harmony between your thoughts and your actions and your behaviors. So subsequently, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the audience to feel at ease. So here, you know that there's a problem. We're working to solve that problem, and this is how we're going to do it. And you want it to be clear for the audience. You want them to see that it's an easy solution and that it has benefits. Now, when we think about exploring how we can solve that problem, you might look at ways that it's worked in the past, or you might look at ways that it's currently working so they understand. Now, some of you are going to be like, I don't necessarily know if my problem has a solution that people are already applying. So that's up to you to find, does that exist? And this is a good time to explain what that looks like. You can look at how the government's solving it, how society's solving it, how other countries are solving the problem. You might even look at ways that, you know, we've proposed to solve the problem, but we haven't taken that course of action yet. But I'm not asking you to solve the problem unless you know that there is a definitive way to do it. So I'm not asking you guys to solve world hunger. That's not what this is about. It's about looking at ways that it could be done and applied based on what you can find in terms of research to support it. So right now, the only thing that you've seen is you've seen an introduction, you've seen a problem, and you've seen a solution. That's motivated sequence so far. That's what you would present up to this point. This is what gives motivated sequence a little pizzazz. Are you still with me? I haven't lost everybody yet, have I? I know I'm talking a lot, I know, and it can be really tedious to listen in Zoom, I get it. But I hope you're seeing how this works for your speech. This is my favorite part of this. Remember I told you pathos is already built into it, where you've worked to get their attention, you work to help them see that they have a need that can be satisfied. There's some balance again. Now you got to help them to see that there's real benefits. And this is why I was thinking it would work for you, or for you, Bradley, or for you, Rose, as well. Because this visualization step allows you to illustrate the success, the benefits of action. So if your audience wasn't convinced yet, visualization literally helps you to put the idea in their mind that it works and that there are real benefits. I don't want you guys to think of visualization as a visual aid, although I will probably have a few of you who do, no matter how many times I say it. Visualization does not have to be a visual representation. It's going to be putting it into, you know, that third eye blind, that mind's eye, right there in the middle, give them that third eye representation of those benefits. Help them to understand the benefits that this holds for them. Give them the understanding that those benefits have real significant meaning to them. Here you can talk about ways that it's worked before, or consequences of inaction is also a way to approach the visualization step. If we continue to go this way, and I can see this definitely for you, Haley, what's going to happen to the environment? If we continue to do the things that we're doing, there's going to be real risk involved. But I guarantee if we do something, the world will be improved in this way. You can help them see what the world will look like if we take action. Are you with me? Visualization is helping them to see the benefits of action or the risk of inaction or both. It's my favorite part of the sequence. Here's the last part, and this is the most important part. I won't say that visualization is the most important part. Monroe built this entire sequence to get to one place, the action step. This was the most important part. How do you get the audience to act? Well, you help them to see how important their actions are to the solution. They should feel compelled to do it right here and now. So you want to make it accessible. You want to make it something they can easily do, whether it's sign up, right? There's an app for that. You can sign up for this right now by texting this number. Or if you're interested in getting involved, here's more information about that organization that you can work with. Or here's my petition. Here's the link to the petition. Make sure that you sign it right here, right now, if you feel that you want to be a part of this change. Making it immediate is one of the best things that you can do to assure that will happen. I can't tell you how many good speeches I've heard. I mean, I've heard hundreds of good speeches. I have felt so motivated and inspired, but if the speaker didn't give me the ability to do something about it, that follow through, I didn't. I never did. I never followed up unless I had something I could do pretty immediately. I mean, you know, those New Year's resolutions, here we are, you know, I don't even know what month it is these days, but here we are in July. How many of you are still sticking to that New Year's resolution? Some of us, right? Some of us maybe, some of you. I'm not, unfortunately. In fact, I'm probably gained those 10 pounds back in quarantine. But immediate action works best, and it helps to prolong the impact. Make sure they know exactly how to do it and what to do. And finally, don't forget that this is also going to serve as your conclusion. So if you haven't restated that thesis and tied it up with a big, beautiful bow, you want to restate that thesis and leave them with a final thought. But that call to action is one of the most important parts of the conclusion that you can incorporate into any of these arrangements. So when you get to the conclusion, you better tell your audience what to do next. Okay, the next thing is a sample of a motivated sequence, but I don't know if it's going to come up on your end. So we try, and if it shows up on your end, great. If not, then we'll skip it. But this is a really, really short. It's not really a PSA, it is an ad because it's an organization asking for support. It's very, very short, but it's motivated sequence. Let's see if it comes up. No, it doesn't, I'm sorry, but I will share that with you in Canvas, I promise. It's really short, it's like a 60-second ad, but it's amazing to see that all of those steps of the process are being followed. All right, now I'm getting ready to get into comparative advantage or refutation, but before I do, I'm going to check in with you. Okay, I know I just shared a ton of information with you, and it's probably new information, unless you had a chance to read chapter 16 in the text. If any of you can come up with all 5 of those steps that I just went through, if you've got 5 of those steps, I will give you 10 extra credit points right now. But you got to have all 5 steps. If you give it away, like say you start and then somebody picks it up, that's fine. They get the points though. Anybody got all 5 of those steps that I just went through for motivated sequence without cheating and looking online? No? All right, well, I'll give you 1 point if you can tell me what the first step was. You can't tell me the first step? Did I just waste my time?
Wasn't it the introduction?
But what is that called? What is that called? It's tricky, isn't it?
The attention gap, right?
Who said that? Is that Allie? Who said that? Haley. All right. Yes, you're right. All right. That's right. It's attention. It's called attention. The very first step is attention. All right. Who knows the second step? All right, Jamie, what's the second step?
The second step was the need, like
yes.
Yeah,
yes. Right on. The need. Do you know that third step since I got you here?
Yeah, it was the satisfaction and solution.
Yes, satisfaction and solution. They're right. It's the same thing. So the need is the problem. Satisfaction is the solution. All right. Anybody want to steal it, or do you want to see if Jamie gets the next one? What's the next?
The
what's
next one would be the visual.
But it's not a visual.
Visualization.
Yes, you're right. All right, and then what's the last step?
The conclusion.
Okay, but what is that conclusion called?
Action.
Action.
Action. I'm going to give this to Jamie because she got him. I'm going to give him to her. I'm still going to give Haley 1 point. Okay, for getting attention. Jamie, that was a great steal. So I'm going to give you the 10 points. All right, so it's a 5-step process. Attention's the first one, but it's still the introduction. The need's the second one, which is the problem. The satisfaction is the third one. It's the solution. It's the solution. The fourth one is visualization, showing the audience how the benefits of action can really benefit their lives, or the consequences are adverse, or both. You can do both. You can compare and contrast that. And then the last one's the conclusion or the call to action. Well done, Jamie. Thank you for that. All right, I want you guys to see that you can apply this in other areas of your work as well. If you're writing a persuasive essay, for instance, or if you're giving a TED Talk, this is a great pattern of arrangement to inspire change. And I want you all to get comfortable with that so you can use it for your own speeches. How many of you are thinking about using it for your speech topic for this class? Thinking about it? Thinking about it? How many of you are thinking maybe doing a problem cause solution? Problem cause solution? How about problem cause effect solution? Anybody thinking about that? Okay. All right, so good. So you've got something in mind. For those of you who haven't raised your hands yet, maybe you're thinking comparative advantage or refutation. And that's going to be more in line with we're going to say debate style. You still want to have a really great introduction and an awesome conclusion with a call to action. So you still have to have those things. And what I want you guys to think about for this one is that the most important part of a comparative advantage or refutation, or both, if you choose to use those interchangeably, is the research. Because the audience isn't going to buy your position if you don't have strong research to support it. So when we think about comparative advantage, it's presenting the advantages of your position against the opposition. I don't like the way this is laid out because it implies that that's the way you would build your pattern. Really what it's saying is all those things need to be incorporated in each of those claims, which is what you would be presenting. So the first one might be, looking who has a really good one. Maybe looking at uniforms. So the advantages of uniforms. So Kelly Ann, you said that it helps to level the playing fields. It helps to make everybody feel equal. And this might be maybe finding some research to support that. There might be a study out there that says, in fact, we saw that out of 100 schools in, I don't know, we'll say maybe in Florida counties, those who were using uniforms, they had higher grades on average, even in maybe more challenged economic areas. So I don't know, I'm just making this up, but if you were to find research to support that, right, that would be one way that you could build that. But you definitely want to find research for each of your points. If you're presenting an advantage, find something to support that. Now keep in mind, we could be talking about facts presented by an expert, or we could be talking about statistics presented from a reliable resource. You might have expert testimony, for instance. So maybe someone who's qualified. Who would be qualified to say that I have seen an equal playing field in my school?
The principals. I know
Sure.
a bunch of principals.
Yeah, if the principal said, yeah, I saw it before and now I see, and I definitely see that there's a difference in student morale. That would be an expert in that area for that particular point. So yeah, so you could do it like that. But when you present every area, like every advantage, you want to back it up with support. You can use examples, you can use expert testimony, you can use facts, you can use statistics, but you want to support each one of those premises, is what we call that, with research. Now, research can come from your opinion too, if you're going to reason it out for your audience. But remember, you do have to have 4 sources of research. It doesn't hurt to use them here. And then if you were going to do refutation, which would be areas of dispute. So if I was going to present, say for instance, required courses as a refutation. I'm going to say, well, Lake Sumter State College does require you to take required courses. I'm going to say it's just not the right way to do it, because when examining the way that maybe you have a university in mind that you know that's doing this, the way that XYZ University is doing it, we see that students are completing their classes faster and they're getting better grades and going on to their career fields. And so you would present the research. Does that make sense? How you might use a refutation there? These aren't really great examples, but I'm trying to take your topics and put them into perspective for you. So, but refutation allows you to refute the opposition. So you would be able to offer a preferred course of action and back that with the research. While my opponent has a good idea here, you know, about cats being easy to care for, I can tell you in my own experience, my dog is super easy to care for. I don't have to do anything except for let him out and he comes back in, feed him in the mornings and he's good to go. So that's an area of refute. It's talking about the opposition in terms of my position is better and here's the appeal to that, and then building the research to support it. Now you can build comparative advantage and refutation interchangeably. You can use a comparative advantage for the first main point. Here's the advantage of my position. Maybe for the second main point, you're going to say, and here's the area where I disagree with the opposition. And then the last main point, you have a great advantage to your position. There's a great reason to do that. If I start with a positive and I end with a positive, my audience might receive that more favorably. So me putting that there strategically is going to help my audience to be more in line with what I have to say. So you can use that interchangeably. You can't use any of the other patterns of arrangement interchangeably. You can't just throw a cause and effect in here and have a refutation in the beginning and the end, right? You can't do that with any of the other patterns. You've got to stick to the plan. But when it comes to refutation and comparative advantage, those two work really well side by side. Does that make sense? You can have, remember for our speech body, 2 to 5 main points. So this might be where you have maybe 3 or 4 main points that helps your audience to see that your position's more favorable than the one that they're thinking of. All right, so today I talked with you a little bit about organizing your persuasive speech. We looked at refutation and comparative advantage. We looked at the problem, cause, effect, solution, problem, cause, solution. And we looked at the motivated sequence, which is very much like a problem solution structure with that visualization right there in the middle to help the audience to see the benefits of action. How are you feeling about this so far? Do you have a pretty good understanding about these arrangements?
Yes.
My hope is that you'll know where to go for help if you don't. So you can come back to me if you have questions. I see, Matthew, that you're here with us now. And I don't know if I just threw you off and you walked in and you saw us talking about this, but hopefully you feel comfortable, at least in part, about where to go next with your speech. Let's see, we have a little bit of time left. And so what I'd like to do now is I'd like for us to watch a speech together. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to open up the floor for your conversation, and then we'll watch the speech together next time. So since I have a few minutes with you, I went through all of that, and I talked about the requirements of the speech. How do you feel about your speeches? Do you feel like you have a pretty good idea of what your pattern will be? Let me ask, Jamie, which one are you thinking about choosing? If you're not sure yet, it's okay if you say, I don't know, I'm thinking about it.
Sorry. I'm still kind of thinking about it. Like right now I'm trying to get like all of like what I think I'm gonna say in some research, and then trying to figure out how to word it or do one of the different kinds.
Gotcha.
So
that's okay. Who thinks they know? Who thinks they know what they want to do? Emma, what are you thinking?
I'm probably thinking the comparative advantage, because there's a very drastic difference between how things are now at the Electoral College and how things could be and how it could benefit.
Definitely, definitely. All right, and who else? Angela, did you think you know which one you might pick?
Yeah, I was thinking the reputation, because there's not really like a plan to action that I can call people to do with the required courses, but there's like 2 different sides of how like I could debate it.
Well, I want you to have a call to action in your conclusion, even if it's, here's a petition, sign it. Here's a petition, you can start it. You can go to change.org and start one if there isn't already one out there. or if you can think of some other organization to align with, I want you guys all to have a course of action. Now, it doesn't have to be as definitive as sign my petition, but if there is one, why not use it, right? Why not get that kind of action out of it? Because here's what happens. Sometimes we hear these great speeches and you got a great point, but then what did you do? You just changed our minds. But does it change the world? Does it make an impact? Probably not. And all that work you put into it could have been better served if it got some sort of ball rolling. So I want you to be able to know how to do that. But I think refutation would be fine for your topic, for sure. I think you could definitely do what you want to do with it using a refutation. Just when you're in your call to action, just make sure you have something that the audience can do. Maybe they can voice their concerns to their academic advisor. You know, it doesn't have to be real definitive, but it might be.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I think refutation would work. I just don't want you to shy away from having a call to action.
Okay.
All right, so here's what I want to do. Anybody else have their idea of what they want to do, which pattern of arrangement they want to use? All right, since you don't yet, I want you to have a piece of paper and a pencil handy. Now think about it this way. Remember, you have an audience. This is your audience. Now they may be for or against your topic. They may have reasons why they're against it. They may have reasons why they're for it. They may have reasons why they completely agree with you, and they may have totally different reasons. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to talk to, I'm going to put you into Teams here, and I'm going to send you into some, it's going to send you into some private chat rooms. So don't let that freak you out when you go there. I just want to make sure everybody's still with us. I know Rose is with us. Allie, you with us? Because it's getting ready to send you into the abyss, my friend. Okay. Matthew, are you here, or do you just look like you're here? Because I won't send you into a room if you're not here, because that would be weird. So I'm going to send you into a room, and what I want you to come back with is at least 3 questions from your audience members. 3 questions they may have about your topic. Now, you guys can play devil's advocate a little bit. You don't have to act like you're in agreement. You can pretend like you're in disagreement just for the fun of it, just to really get people to feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to be more challenging than I thought. Okay, but the point is that you're going to get to pick each other's brains a little bit. Jamie, did you have a question?
I was just going to say that I think I'm going to do the comparative advantage pattern. So like the advantages of why speaking English is better for immigrants.
And it might make you feel better too, to be able to do it in terms of this is benefits. So it's beneficial for them and for others. So it doesn't feel like you're saying that you're wrong or bad for not doing it. I really have a positive feel for their goal here. So that might come across a little bit more, that might connect a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right, so let's send you into your chats. You guys can talk a little bit more. First go around, I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes. So go around the table, there's gonna be just a few of you, maybe 2 or 3, and just talk a little bit about your topics, and then try to come up with at least 3 questions that you think your audience might have that you're gonna work to answer in your speech. And maybe this will help put this into perspective for you so you decide which pattern of arrangement you want to use. It's called breakout rooms. I can peek in so I can jump in. So don't be surprised if I come in and say hello. We'll do about 5 minutes or so. We got about 5 minutes. So I'm going to put you in there for about 5 minutes. And it looks like we're going to have 3 participants per room. All right. So we're going to put you in there. And just go ahead and join them. If it comes up, you should be able to join.
Okay, now it's 3.
So Matthew's not here, so it's going to be just the 2 of you, but it'll give you some time to talk about your topics, and they're different topics, so it'll be interesting to hear one of your perspectives, I think, that you're sharing. So I'll let you talk, and if you have questions, I'll come back in and talk to you, okay?
Great.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have
sorry
a
about
few questions.
Okay.
You want to
So-
go, Addie?
Yeah, I will. I probably won't
Okay.
make sense though. So are we like, so like I'm supposed to like ask them questions so that they can come back to the regular group with the questions?
Nah, this is really giving you a chance to talk with your audience about your topic, kind of getting their perspective, seeing if you can pick their brains a little bit, see how you might convince them, and see what it might take to get them to follow through. So, for instance, so Shayla, you've actually got a room full of women right now, so it's a perfect audience to ask, like, you know, how many of you are already using birth control, or have you had problems using it, or do you have questions about it? You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
then they can ask you questions, you know, like, well, when I think about birth control, I'm thinking about this and this and this. Are you going to tell us a little bit more about what kind of birth control you're talking about? Rose might say, well, but then how do I prevent pregnancy? You know, what am I supposed to do if, you know, so you have 3 women, so it'd be perfect to kind of get like into their heads a little bit. So yeah,
Okay.
they're going to ask you questions and you're going to ask them questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that help? It's giving you a chance to talk to your audience before you prepare your speech. So you can think of how you might use the research.
I have a question.
Sure.
For mine, do you think it would be better if I just stuck to like the pill or the shot or the IUD?
Ask
That
them.
way I can have like a clear path.
Ask them, because if you're going to talk about anything hormone based, what I was thinking, anything hormone based, there's going to be health effects.
Yeah.
But they might need more information to understand even what that means. So that's a good question. But remember, your audience is who the most important part of this is. So if they don't understand, you're going to help them understand.
Oh, okay.
And then Rose, like, you know, she's talking about social media. You know, you might ask, well, are you going to talk about this aspect of it? Or I've seen a lot of bullying, you know, how are you going to approach that? So it just gives you a chance to just talk more one-on-one with everybody. I hope this makes sense. We're only going to be here a couple more minutes.
Okay. I think we're all, I mean, I understand better now.
I get it.
I also do.
Okay, I'll leave. You got like 2 more minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Kellyanne, did you get any insight from your audience members?
Yeah, I don't know how I got back here. It said the breakout room will end. I thought I hit close and it popped me back.
Did you find it helpful to talk with them just for a couple minutes?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, we
I think
pretty
maybe more
much
time.
knew we knew what we were going to talk about in our speeches, most of us. So
Okay.
yeah, I think Jamie was still finishing hers just now when I apparently left the room.
So when I think about your topic, it sounds to me like you already have a lot already at the heart of it, because you've
Okay.
seen it. Yeah, you've seen it. So you have a real stake in it. Not everybody else's topics are that, I think, easy for them. So I think you'll probably have a good time finding the research. And did you decide on?
Oh, I already have a lot of it. So yeah.
Did you decide on one of the patterns that you might use?
I probably might use the comparative one
Comparative advantage.
because show kids that wear them as opposed, or schools that have them that don't wear them.
Definitely.
You know, it's just a different mentality in uniform schools. So I think I'll do that.
We might get a chance to spend some more time in one-on-one rooms like that, just when you guys especially start to develop your drafts. One thing I want you to think of is that no matter what, okay, you might see that these are easy topics, but the whole goal of this is to try to get the audience to do something about it. So taking them to that course of action, whether it's being more committed or actually doing something, which I hope most of you will have something they can do in mind. That's how you're going to try to get your audience to commit. I think that's the hardest thing to do when we're trying to be really persuasive. they might listen to our argument and agree with us all day, but are they willing to follow through? And that's the hard part. All right, does anybody have any questions for me? When we meet next class, we're gonna watch and grade a student speech, and that'll help get you ready for your drafts, which are due next week. You all have a wonderful day.